slide because of the focus of this workshop in South and Southeast Asia. And of course, the Academy of Nepal is a very valuable partner of the IAP, and I'm very happy to see today representatives from Bangladesh and Malaysia and Sri Lanka and other places. Next slide, please. The IAP has 2 secretariat offices, one in Washington, D.C., that is hosted by the U.S. National Academy of Sciences. That's the one that I direct. And we have a second secretariat office in Trieste, Italy, which is part of the UNESCO system, and it's hosted by the World Academy of Sciences. You can see our vision and our mission. Our vision is to bring together the Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine to provide policy advice to our governments, nationally, regionally, and of course at the global level. And why is it important to bring academies together? It's because we are often seen as the trusted, independent voice. So the workshop today represents many of these powerful independent voices of science, engineering, and medicine. You can see our governance here as 6 co-chairs, and I have highlighted the co-chair from Malaysia. She was the former president of the National Academy of Malaysia, and I want to believe that the diversity and the regional representation of our governance also describes the commitment of the Inter-Academy Partnership not to be focused in one specific region. Last few slides, just to show that the Inter-Academy Partnership is very much focused on the issues of climate and health. It's not the only topic that we try to address, but here with 4 regional reports that were led by the different regional offices within the IAP that led to a more global report. We're trying to do our part with addressing the issues, and this project continues today with more activity supported by the Save the Children Foundation. I want to wish all of us a very successful workshop. Again, back to my original remarks, I think we have the best recipe for success, bringing the scientists, the medical professionals, and the policymakers in the same room. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Reiner. Now may I request Ms. Isabella Corzilli, Deputy Director General of the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, ICIMOD.
Thank you, and good morning, Right Honourable PM Pushpa Kamal Dahal, Honourable Ministers and distinguished delegates, dignitaries, guests and participants. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this morning on a critically important issue. We simply cannot discuss the changing climate without what it means for the health of our mountain communities. At ICIMOD, the International Centre for Integrated Mountain Development, where we are hosted in Kathmandu, courtesy of the government of Nepal, we have for 40 years worked on the sustainable development of the huge expanse that is the Hindu Kush Himalaya, together with our 7 other regional member countries. With the science now unequivocal that this region is one of the most exposed in the world to the polycrisis that we face, this work has never been more urgent. To cite just 3 established facts, temperatures are rising here at double the global average. Only the Arctic is warming faster. The Hindu Kush Himalayan region is now one of the most polluted regions in the world, and 70% of the original biodiversity here has now been lost, and species extinctions are accelerating. All these factors, coupled with large-scale demographic changes and economic pressures, are significantly increasing exposure to disease and bringing about multiple health impacts, together with the serious medium and long-term consequences that these bring. And to touch on the health impacts of temperature rise first, It is often said that climate change communicates itself through water. So given how vast the rivers are in our region, and given how vast the regions are in our region, and that these are lifelines through our region, and that next week we have World Water Day, let's start there. Next week we publish a series of reports on the Ganga, the Brahmaputra and the Indus, 3 of the 10 major transboundary rivers flowing through this region. To focus first on the Ganga, all of Nepal's population of 29 million people live in the Ganges basin, along with just under half of India's entire population of 600 million people and millions in Bangladesh. In India, 1/3 of the total living in the basin, an extraordinary 200 million people are below the poverty line, reliant on the river for food, drinking water and agriculture. But what is most concerning is that these impacts are disproportionately felt by women, the disabled and other excluded groups. And all these groups are likely to both find themselves more exposed and vulnerable with increasing temperature rises. We are already seeing disastrous floods happening in this basin every year, increasing the risk of death, injury and loss from floods and landslides, and increasing exposure of waterborne diseases such as typhoid and dysentery. And we are seeing incidents of these examples across the region every year, where prolonged and intense rainfall events coupled with inappropriately sited homes and settlements or leaky pipes in urban areas and crowded living conditions are all taking their toll. And it's not just the impacts of too much or too little water that hit the health of these vast populations, because industrialization, urbanization, new and increasingly difficult to manage contaminants, including plastics and microplastics, as well as endocrine disruptors from antibiotics and other medicines ingested by human and animals, are found in rising. Of course, with the additional challenges of temperature rise, are giving rise to new diseases previously not prevalent at higher altitudes. Accessible by many people or not attuned to coping with large numbers of new diseases, this is of serious and growing concern. Whilst temperature rise is the biggest challenge this region will face, the single biggest threat to human health right now is in fact toxic air. This is one area where so many countries and cities around the world are making huge strides, but across most of the Hindu Kush Himalaya we are heading the wrong way, and millions of us are routinely exposed to breathing air that massively exceeds safe limits. Our air team ran the pollution numbers last month. Between the 21st of January and the 21st of February, Kathmandu had just one single solitary day when pollution was considered unhealthy for sensitive groups. Every single other day for the rest of the month, it was unhealthy, with an air quality index of over 151. New Delhi, Lahore and Dhaka were even worse, registering hazardous, the very worst levels of pollution. On one single day in any of these huge cities with their vast human populations did the air rank as good or moderate. We know it cuts 10 years of the average life in Delhi, around 5 years of the average life in Bangladesh, India, Nepal and Pakistan. increasing exposure and risk of multiple diseases such as bronchitis, heart disease, cancers and dementia. And of course, toxic air isn't harmful to humans alone. It harms crops, biodiversity, and through deposits of black carbon that settle on the frozen reserves of water held in the mountains, it's a major contributor to glacial melt, all threatening to compound the risks to be downstream and accelerating sharp declines in nature. We have to, as the international community, policymakers, industries and residents, unbelievable abundance and diversity of nature, including many species and life forms that are only found here. But to go back to the topic of this talk, the science is now categorical that the survival of our species is the flourishing of this natural world. In our region, it is estimated that 85% of mountain communities rely on this nature, and the progressive erosion of agricultural and livestock diversity through the alteration of traditional agricultural systems previously very well adapted to mountain conditions and diets is now resulting in rising malnutrition and food insecurity. For example, take yak herding, the main source of livelihood and income for pastoralists at high altitude. Are resulting in inbreeding, reduced resilience and adaptation, and reduced productivity. Or the rapid disappearance of indigenous crops. They were specially over hundreds of years for their resilience and nutritional levels. This has resulted in exposure to increasing pests and diseases, whilst also under of medicinal plants and products, largely from wild plants but also wildlife. And there is a considerable high value trade in these products from within and through and outside of the region. And many of these are sources of traditional medicines. But once again, they are going significant losses. So the key message I want to convey today, however, is that it is not too late . In terms of temperature rise, we recently published a flagship report that was categorical that fast and deep emissions cuts must start now. Every increment of degree of warming matters. We joined forces with governments and negotiators from our region and from other mountain and cryospheres. This message was heard by the international community and the wider public and decision makers, from heads of state to CEOs here and around the world. And we were very glad to have been able to support the government of Nepal and all our regional member countries to raise these issues at the highest possible level in 2020. The Polar Summit in Paris and of course COP28 in Dubai, where I led the government of Nepal event over which the Right Honourable Prime Minister himself presided, together with the UN Secretary General. Whilst there were some landmark moments, including mention for the first time ever the issue of mountains and cryosphere in the final decision text of COP28, many were disappointed with the ultimate outcome at COP. It is clear that things need to move much faster. Impacts are causing catastrophic health and economic losses in our region. And we need to keep pushing for collective mitigation action, whilst also urgently pressing world leaders that the most impacted and who are least to blame are compensated. Some of this work is, however, bearing fruits, and collective advocacy from mountain communities has resulted in a technical dialogue on mountains at the next UNFCCC Subster in June, We encourage our partners and other mountain countries and the government of Nepal to push for the inclusion of health considerations in this dialogue and join arms with the health sector in the region to raise awareness of the impacts of inaction. We are also working hard to support governments to prepare and adapt. We have been supporting our governments to improve forecasting skills, which have largely focused on rainfalls and storms. However, as we move forwards, we need to do more analysis on how we can link this kind of forecasting with disease outbreaks. On air pollution, we are setting out to build greater public awareness of the costs of pollution, and we are seeking to identify and platform and scale the most promising solutions to pollution. We also believe it's imperative there be established a regional cooperation framework to combat air pollution and the many other transboundary issues, and we are working together with all our regional member countries to establish a regional mechanism, a proposed Hindu Kush Himalayan Council that can enable our countries to address these huge challenges. And finally, on nature systems, communicating this to the international communities and our national decision makers, and providing solutions on more sustainable. Also looking at how we can reintroduce traditional varieties and make more value from these unique niche mountain products. So all in all, we are, together with our partners, only just beginning to recognise the scale of the between the multiple dimensions of climate, environment and health. There is still a huge amount to do to create the kinds of policies, institutions and technologies that will incentivise the kinds of skills. Thank you, and wishing you a very successful workshop.
Now, we'll have a virtual connection from Canada, representing the founding director, Dr. Julfikar Bhutta from Canada.
Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bhatta, colleagues from the National Academy of Medicine. I'm Julfikar Bhutta from the Institute for Global Health and Development at the Aga Khan University and the Center for Global Child Health here in Toronto. It gives me great pleasure to see the occasion of this notable meeting in South Asia. Initially, I would like to congratulate colleagues for establishing this hub on climate and its impact. And I wish I was there in person, but I know that many importance of the topic that you are discussing and will deliberate upon during the course of this particular workshop. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, climate change, and particularly the impact. We also regard this very much as a threat multiplier, because many of the impacts of climate, conflict, population displacement, and insecurity are multiplied in the context of poverty, prevalent inequities, and they also have disproportionate gender impacts, particularly affecting women in low and middle income countries and sometimes within subnational populations where they are disenfranchised and don't have the same ability to adapt and have resilience as other populations. It is also extremely important to recognize that some of the impacts of climate that we are recognizing in our region on agriculture, nutrition, food security, and importantly on and therefore an exposure to extreme effects of climate, whether they are in relation to heat or to climate-related emergencies and disasters, genetic manner. So the epigenetic impacts of some of these are only just beginning to be unraveled. There is a lot of work to be done. Gaps that we recognize and gaps in terms of physiology and understanding of some of the impacts of climate that we have as yet not satisfactorily explored. But I hope this will be a stepping stone in terms of work in this area and, importantly, collaboration in this area. So I'd like to end by saying that I hope this workshop will open the doors for greater work between the and that we would have civil society engage in this, as we really need to address this through policies and programs that transcend national boundaries. So thank you very much for inviting me to say a few words. And as I indicated, even though I could not be with you this time, I hope that in subsequent follow-up activities from this particular climate hub, that we will have much more in the region, and I look forward to participating actively in the future. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you, Dr. Julfikar Bhutta. Now may I invite Ms. Claire Langley Hawthorne from the Climate Health Foundation of the United States of America.
Thank you, and I would like to add my thanks to the Right Honourable Prime Minister, other representatives of the government here, dignitaries, and all you participants. It's an honour to be here. It's certainly an honour for the Climate and Health Foundation to support this workshop. You may not know a lot about us. We're actually based in Denver, Colorado, and our mission is really to support the training of healthcare professionals in 2017, and we now have up to 5 fellows from the University of Colorado, Columbia University, Harvard University, former fellow here today who helped organise this program, Dr. Caitlin Rubley, and I definitely want to thank the organisers for putting together such a wonderful build a healthcare community around the issue of climate change and health. We're honoured to have the first endowed chair to train healthcare professionals who may be later on in their career to again inform them on this important issue of that nexus between climate change and health. I've been very privileged to be at the recent COP meetings where we've tried to bring together the healthcare community, and in Dubai it was wonderful to see the first Health Day announced. So I'm hoping that we will see further commitments made, and I think I hope to learn from you all, to absorb the information, get to understand the regional needs, and to get a sense of some of the pathways forward. So thank you again.
Thank you, Claire. Now, Dr. Victor J. Zhao, President of National Academy of Medicine, will join us virtually from the United States of America.
Good morning. I'm Victor Zhao, the President of the U.S. National Academy of Medicine, and I thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to help welcome all of you here today. This is such an important international collaboration. Has been honored to be part of this conceptualization and planning. I'd like to start by acknowledging a few key individuals here today without whom this event would not have been possible. First, many thanks to key leaders who have had a hand in this workshop, including the Honorable Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, who provided today's welcome remarks. Second, to Bishnu Bhatta, Director of Partnership for Sustainable Development, for his leadership and vision in planning this event. Many thanks to of the planning committee as well. And third, to many partners event, including the Partners for Sustainable Development, the Nepal Health Research Council, friends old and new, including NAM members Peggy Hamburg and Zophie Butta, who are here today, and other partners, Dr. Pidip Gayamwari and Professor Dilip Suga. What a pleasure to welcome you and open building local, regional, national, international collaboration must be a key priority. We know that interest in understanding health impacts of climate change is increasing, but the current evidence base has not sufficiently explored the nexus between health, equity, and climate policy in many global communities. Additionally, there remain individual communities or countries and data networks. On the other hand, coalitions of countries or regions combining their resources and capabilities offer a path forward, an attractive complement to global resources. And that's why we need a regional approach to climate research. Communities must have greater control over the strategic decision to enable them to developing conceptually specific research methodologies and in using this research to inform local policy. Pollution, leading to negative health outcomes, including increasing rates of heat stroke, respiratory illness, and malnutrition. Certainly we've seen this in Nepal, but also other countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India, of unprecedented flash floods and extreme heat. Still, we significant scientific and technical workforce shortages and a need for better integration of policy and planning. This is why the work that you're doing is so important to develop regional research hubs. Creating a network allow geographic regions to identify and prioritize their own key needs. It will also establish networks of researchers and innovators to facilitate and share lessons learned, strengthen regional scientific capacity, leverage regional leadership, create shared policy data, so with all that, I hope the discussion you'll have today and tomorrow will allow you to learn from local, regional, and global experts, refine the scope of jobs, and identify best methods for governance and development. I know this project was so impactful in closing the gaps we're all familiar with stands beside you and give you strong support as a willing partner and collaborator. I know that Dr. Kimber Bogart, working with you on this, and she's not able to attend this meeting in person. And also, we have several representatives actively participating in today's meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Victor. Now, may I invite Honourable Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation of Nepal, Mr. Sakti Bahadur Basnet, to deliver his opening remarks.
Thank you, Bhushanji. Honorable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister of Health and Population, distinguished guests, delegates, representatives from the media, ladies and gentlemen. And equity. I am deeply honored to address you as the Minister for Forest, Energy, Water Resources and Irrigation. These over the next 2 days are aimed at contributing to the theme of connecting the dots between climate change, health and equity, marking a I am pleased to share that Nepal stands at the forefront of global initiatives to combat climate change. We are proud of the COP28 UAE Declaration on Climate and Health, underscoring our unwavering commitment to advancing climate resilience, Sustainable Development Goal SDG 7 of ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all. We recognize the interconnectedness of climate action, health and equity by embracing renewable energy sources and promoting sustainable human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, the climate crisis is not merely an environmental challenge. It is a profound existential threat that demands bold and decisive actions. The time for gratification is over. We must act now to secure a brighter consequences of climate change, from altered monsoon patterns to rising temperatures and increased extreme weather events. Our society, affecting everything from biodiversity and water resources to food security and public health and societal order also. In this situation, our ministry recognizes the paramount importance of advancing to mitigate the risk posed by climate change and build these into the international commitments and national policies. These ventures are crucial for safeguarding the most vulnerable communities within our region and beyond. Nepal, with its unique geographical diversity, from the majestic Himalayas to the verdant patterns, rising temperatures, and increase in extreme weather events, directly impacting our biodiversity, water resources, flood security, public health, and livelihoods. A hallmark of our strategy for the national economy centers on harnessing the potential of hydroelectricity and alternative energy sources. This approach not only contributes to our economic growth, but also emphasizes the intrinsic linkages between water, soil, and irrigation. Each element crucial for sustaining life and promoting a healthy planet. Duty to protect and preserve our environmental for posterity. Our ministry is fully committed to this noble cause, championing mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. Our commitment to sustainable development is reflected in our pursuit of climate agriculture and consequently nutrition. Ladies and gentlemen, the establishment of this regional hub embodies our shared vision and determination to correct the historical global imbalance in climate and health research by fostering radically collaborative, locally led initiatives. We aim to generate empirical evidence, develop collaborative networks, and advocate for policies that prioritize vulnerable communities. Through multi-sectoral, interdisciplinary, and dynamic collaborations, we can unlock the planet. The ministry remains steadfast in its commitment to conserving our environment for present and future generations, acknowledging of our citizens and the population in the region is foundational to our efforts. As we delve into the rich discussion and insight, we anticipate that the outcomes will significantly inform the ministry's policies, strategies, plans, and actions to the well-being of our people and the planet in the long run. Resilient and equitable future for all. I wish you all every success in this important event. Enjoy your time in Nepal. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
And the Minister of Health and Population, Mr. Upendra Yadav, to deliver his opening remarks.
This conference with the collaborative spirit among stakeholders will create conducive environment to address the challenges of climate change and impact on health. Over the next 2 days, discussions and interactions will make real solutions to the current problems we are facing due to climate change. We all are aware that Nepal is highly affected by impact of climate change, for which we are not responsible. We have been advocating at national and international level to minimize the adverse effects of climate change. Accordingly, government has been actively participating COPs to draw attention. Considering importance of climate change in health sector, we have been talking several measures, mainly adapting but also mitigation measures. Nepal, as a first country in the South Asia region, developed national health adaptation plan and has been carrying over various measures in building climate resilience health systems. The advocacy at different levels, capacity building of health professionals, research studies, and strengthening of climate sensitive diseases, surveillance system, climate resilience, and environmental sustainability at health care facilities are some of the examples that we have been implementing. We strongly believe that our mitigation measures will contribute to some extent in achieving national and global targets. I wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude to every participant, organizer, and our esteemed international partners for their invaluable contribution to this conference. Finally, thank you for all of you, your dedication, commitment, and to create healthier and safer environment for life. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda, the chief guest of the event, for his special remarks.
Very good morning and namaste to everybody. Mr. Chair of this inaugural session, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Health and Population, Honorable Minister for Energy, Water Resource and Irrigation, international delegates, distinguished guests, conference, all participants, media person, ladies and gentlemen. It is my privilege to extend a heartfelt welcome to each esteemed guest and participants convened here for the inaugural session of the South and Southeast Asia Regional Conference on connecting the dots between climate change, health, and equity. At the outset, I extend my sincere appreciation to all the universities, academics, and institutions from USA, Canada, Pakistan, and also from Nepal, whose joint effort in organizing this event highlights the importance of partnership in tackling the complex challenge of climate change, health, and equity. This gathering underscores our collective commitment to addressing this comprehensive approach. Acknowledging the significance of this monument, the government of Nepal, it is a crucial step toward a future sustainability and fairness. Distinguished guests, posed by climate change are immense, touching every corner, impacting our society and the natural. Climate scientists must significantly reduce gas emissions to surpassing the critical 5 Celsius. This is vital for a nation like ours. This millions of people downstream. On international stage, from 78th UNGA to COP28 in Dubai, I have advocated for the unique challenges faced by the mountainous region and LDCs due to climate change. It is imperative that developed economies extend their support with essential resources and technology. The promise of $100 billion in climate finance stands as a beacon of hope. Its fulfillment through the Green Climate Fund, among other mechanisms, is essential for adaptation and mitigation. The Loss and Damage Fund remains equally pivotal for the purpose. In this vein, I express our gratitude to Mr. Antonio Guterres, the United Nations Secretary General, for his visit and for emphasizing the urgent need for action in Nepal. Integrating health into our climate response is both necessity and essential. COP28 Declaration on Climate and Health, placing health at the forefront of the climate action, echoes our belief in the interconnectivity of climate change and health outcomes that significantly minimize health risk from climate. Reinforcing our commitment to strengthening health system against environmental adversities. Recently, the government of Nepal unveiled the National Adaptation Plan and NDC implementation guideline with testament to our resolve, outlining a clear and strategic pathway forward. They specifically prioritize the mitigation and climate change effects on human health and well-being, emphasizing our dedication to safeguarding our communities against the escalating impact of the environmental change. Nepal is fully committed to the Paris Agreement. We are committed to achieving net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2045, 5 years earlier than the global target. We are fully committed in harnessing our hydropower potential for clean energy and preserving our forest with a minimum of 45% of the forest covered land. However, our attempts to implement climate change adaptation and mitigation plans are facing serious financial and technological gaps. Distinguished guests, the complexity of our region demands a holistic strategy that blends climate change, health, and social justice. Our communities are battling the effects of climate change manifested through malnutrition, pollution, increased disease, and natural calamities. These challenges underscore the integral fate of human health and environment and call for localized, comprehensive responses. Given the varied landscape and cultural context within our region, collaboration becomes imperative. We are committed to leveraging research, innovation, and indigenous wisdom to improve resilience. I extend my assessment of the regional hub on climate change, health and equity. This endeavor signifies our collective resolve to drive meaningful change and foster a resilient, equitable and sustainable future. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizer, participant and delightful stay in Nepal, filled with experience of our unique and breathtaking natural beauty. Thank you. Dhanyavad.